Hello there and welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where today you'll notice I've got my Model 3 shirt on, and the number 3 is significant today because I'm driving out to my buddy Rob's house, who does indeed have a Tesla Model 3. Today is all about Tesla. And he's also got the Tesla solar panels installed on his roof, and he also has the PowerWalls installed in his garage. And you know, it got me thinking, I don't really know that much about this whole sort of three-legged stool solution that Tesla has. But what I did, I read their mission statement from back in whatever it was, 2000 whatever. I mean, they were founded back in 03 by a long time ago, but I did a Google search. Tesla's mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. All right, so that's pretty cool. But you know, let's not forget that Solar City was bought by Elon, and Tesla. I think it was back in 2016. It was a company that his cousins had started, and there was a lot of hope for that, for Solar City and Tesla and all of that. And then when I researched today, I just typed in today, Tesla mission statement for 2022. It says, to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport by bringing compelling mass market electric cars to market as soon as possible. Now, I don't know if that was an official statement. I got a research that says 4-week MBA, but my question is, what's really going on with Tesla as far as beyond the cars, with solar, with the PowerWalls? I want to learn about it. Let's go ahead, make this drive out to Long Island and see what our friend Rob can teach us about Tesla's three-legged stool solution of driving the market to sustainable energy. And let's get into it, folks. So let me tell you a little bit about my buddy Rob. I've known Rob since 1999. I know this guy super well. And he's an electrical engineer, so very, very smart guy and understands things. And he's one of these guys that does not buy something on a whim. He does his research, and he really takes his time before he plunges into anything, especially if it's a large investment. And so I'm confident that he's done his research on this system of putting solar panels on his roof and having the energy stored into the batteries. But you know what's interesting is, I don't know if any of you saw, there was a CNBC documentary about Tesla and solar. Sorry about that, I had a phone call. But you know, so what I was saying was there was a CNBC documentary that came out about, I think it was about a year ago, maybe 10 months ago, and it was interesting to me because it was not really shined. It didn't shine the best light around Tesla's commitment to solar. In fact, what they had done was they had talked a lot about the presentation that Elon made when he was showing these gorgeous panels and the houses, and there was a lot of controversy that came out saying that those were not working prototypes. Those panels that didn't look like traditional solar panels that you see, they didn't work. And I mean, you know, my thought was, if I was building a brand new house, I would put those on, absolutely. They were aesthetically pleasing, they were architecturally stylistic, and I thought it was an amazing thing that they were able to bring this to the market as quickly as they were, knowing how fast the solar, the technology around solar, as little as I know about it, how the technology was evolving very quickly. And one of the other things that I was really kind of excited about was the fact that this technology was being developed by Tesla, an American car company, because I had heard that most of the advancements in solar was happening over in China. So, you know, kind of like, well, you know, we got a lot of smart people in the United States. Why don't we develop? So Tesla's doing this? That's great. So, but, you know, since 2000, whenever that was, 16, 17, you haven't really heard that much about Tesla and the solar panels. So, you know, I put these two things together, that CNBC documentary where people were talking about it taking a super long time for their system to get up and running, using conventional solar panels as opposed to the architectural solar panels, people calling into service at Tesla and, you know, for the solar system, and it just, you know, not working. And when it did work, it wasn't giving them the results that it was giving them. So I'm really anxious to hear what Rob's take is. Now, first of all, I want to understand how the system works. And then second of all, I want to try and understand, you know, how's he liking it? And what's the experience like? So nobody better than my buddy Rob to explain this to us, because if he's into it, there's got to be something there, because this man, he does his homework. So next stop, Long Island. We're going to Rob's house. All right, so folks, I've arrived at my buddy's house. I've got my Model 3 shirt on. Why? Because looky here, we got a Model 3. And we also have a Tesla PowerWall over here and another one over there. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to learn about this system. Rob's told me about this, and he's had this dream to put in this system for quite a while. And, you know, every once in a while he tells me this is what I've done, and I didn't really listen to him, to be honest. But today I'm super interested in learning. So let's go see if he's home. So this I believe is a 2019 Model 3 dual motor. He's had it for about 2.5 years or so. Awesome ride. Matter of fact, Kathy had her Model 3 in the same exact color combination, white, and it was funny when Rob's wife Joanne and Kathy would drive someplace, you didn't know which one was in which.
Hey,
Hey Rob, good to see you.
Welcome.
Good to see you. So thank you, Rob, first of all, for taking time out of your day. I for one am super interested to learn about what you've done with this system that you've put in here at your house. And I mean, these I don't even know what this stuff is up here.
So Dave, thanks, man. This is great. I love this system, by the way. So we started out with the Model 3 mostly because of you and Kyle and all the knowledge, and we love it. Joanne loves it. We're going to be ordering a Model Y, or we already did. But we thought we were thinking solar panels. So we ended up with this package where we have the solar panels, the PowerWalls, and of course charging the car. But really the concept was more about safety than saving any money on electric bill. Of course, it's great to save money on your electricity, but really what happens if the power goes out? You're depending on either a generator. I'm not really a fan of gas generators. They're great if you have one, fantastic. But what's the first thing that happens after a big storm blows over? It's a bright sunny day. So now you're generating, and this is obvious, generating electricity, comes down to the PowerWall, runs your house, stores energy in the PowerWall, charges your car.
Now, can I ask you just a stupid question? Because I'm good at that, all right? You say PowerWall. What's inside this? What's inside that thing?
Well, it's a battery, I'm sorry. Right?
Okay,
now,
it's a battery.
This is the 2.0. So the inverter is now integrated. This is a DC to AC inverter, I believe. And then it stores the energy here, and it talks back and forth with the panel. There's more equipment by the panel, and it's really a smart system. It knows when a storm is coming, it'll automatically charge the PowerWalls 100%. They're charged 100% right now because you can see the green LED all the way to the top. If it was 50%, it'd be to the middle. So I think it's a fantastic system.
Now, how big of battery, like, so this Model 3 has, I think, roughly 77 kilowatt hours, something like that, right? Hey, so Rob, how large a storage capacity is this battery in terms of kilowatt hours?
So Dave, I think it's around 13 to 14, maybe 13 and a half kilowatt hours, but it's almost irrelevant because what this does is it feeds power to the home, and then we're actually plugging in here. Actually, this is kind of cool. This is a charge point. It's not a Tesla charger, but I got it for different reasons. If you buy something other than the Tesla, then it could be used. So this is sort of a variable current draw. This draws about 32 amps, and maybe the Model S does 40 amps. So this would be variable. But so anyway, so we're plugging into here. This is taking energy from the house. It's just that sometimes the energy in the house is generated by the grid, sometimes by the solar panels, which feed the PowerWalls, the batteries.
I see.
So,
What is this gray box here?
this is just a breaker to have local here. And I can't open it.
That's all right,
There's
no
just
worries.
a couple of breakers here.
Okay.
And then this is a handshake, goes back and forth to the electrical breaker box
And that's located where, down in your basement?
in the basement on the other side. And
Okay.
there's actually more equipment associated with this. There's an interface box that goes between our panel and the grid. So as an example, I can show you the app. These batteries are now fully charged, and in the middle of the night, this is programmed to charge the car, where we actually get a 5 cent per kilowatt hour discount if you charge in the middle of the night. So
Okay. Do you know what the rate is here on Long Island?
Long Island is probably around 19 cents.
19 cents.
So you get a pretty hefty discount.
That's interesting because in Connecticut where I live, I'm at 9.9 cents per kilowatt hour.
Well, maybe I'm off, but it's
No, I bet you're not.
Yeah.
I bet it's more
But it's,
expensive here. Right.
Yeah, so it's expensive. So the whole system, again, to me, is about being able to operate during or after a storm when the power's out, basically for safety reasons.
Right. And this charge point unit that you put in, it is a J1772 on the end, so you just use the Tesla adapter to be able to plug it in. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So let me see if I get this straight. Let me see. You got solar panels on the roof, which I want to go out and see now. They're generating, they're taking the sun's rays and taking that energy and sending it down here to through these pipes here. And I know you were very particular about the way this was run, which I want to hear about. But the concept is solar energy comes down from the roof, it gets stored in these batteries, and then you're also connecting out to your breaker panel in the basement, which means that if you're generating more energy, coming in, it's almost like regen, right? You've got more energy coming in from the sun, then you can actually send that out to your utility company.
Right.
And then how does that work as far as are you in effect selling energy to your energy company?
I mean, Long Island's got a great system. PSE&G Long Island really did a great job because you used to sell energy back to the utility at 50 cents on the dollar. Now you're pretty much selling back kilowatt hours. So in the middle of winter, when we're not generating very much or maybe nothing at all, we get that energy back at pretty much at the same rate. So at exactly the same rate, we get it back for free. So it's a great system, and right now we have a lot of energy in the bank that's going to come back to us because now this is operating during a very sunny period and we're generating excess.
Now we all know the Tesla cars, which are not only gorgeous, but they also come with an amazing app that allows you to, precondition the cabin if it's super hot out, or set the charging percentages. You showed me one time that you've got a separate app on your phone for the solar system. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. It measures everything. I mean, anything you can think of by day, by week, by year, and so on, and how much you've generated, how much was sent back to the grid.
Can you show me the app?
Yes.
Let's go check that out. Got the app here. Let's go in. Take me on a little tour of that because I'm very curious about this.
All right. So at the moment, we're generating 12.9 kilowatts through the solar panels. For some reason, the home is probably all the air conditioners are on at the same time. We're drawing 13.1 kilowatts. So it's taking a tiny bit from the grid, 0.2. Now let's see if this air conditioner or whatever is on shuts off, this is going to change drastically. Just a second ago, this was at 12.9. We were only drawing about 4 kilowatts, and about 8 kilowatts was going back into the grid. The PowerWalls or the batteries are already 100% charged. So as whatever is on in the house changes, this will automatically reflect it. It's a bar graph, so whatever.
So the x-axis there is time, is that right?
Yes.
And the y-axis is how much it's either consuming or putting back to the grid?
Yes, power usage.
Power usage, okay.
Right,
Regardless of where it's getting the power from, it's how much the house is consuming.
Correct, that graph. The negative means that they were actually giving us power, and now as the sun started to come out, or towards the middle of the day, we start to charge the batteries themselves.
So Rob, so in that graph right there, the yellow, is that saying that it's taking energy from the actual PowerWall battery or from the grid? Because if the PowerWalls are at 100%, wouldn't the system take from the battery first before it took from the grid?
Well, it's taking from the battery. This is between 6 a.m. or 4 a.m., wherever this lands.
Right.
It starts drawing from the batteries.
I see, okay.
And then it starts to charge the batteries up again during the day. And this is what we actually use from the grid. So we actually use some energy overnight, and then during the day, we stored some energy. We gave back some energy to the grid. And now you see we're generating 12.8 kilowatts. We're only using 5.2 kilowatts.
Oh,
and
look at that.
7.8 is going back to the grid
Making money.
because the batteries are already charged.
Full, right. So if the batteries weren't charged, it would actually put the energy back into the batteries and then put energy back out into the grid.
Correct.
So man, they really thought this through,
Yes,
huh?
yes.
Wow.
So impact. So this is today. We've used, let's see, solar. 43% came from solar. 57% came from the grid. That's including overnight.
Okay, so from 12 midnight until the sunrise.
Correct.
And it's only, what time is it now? It's not even 1 o'clock.
Right.
So
Correct.
okay, that's amazing.
So we have the rest of the day, and we could do this by week.
Yeah, let me see that. I love stats. I love data.
Exactly.
That's so cool. So this is amazing because it's been pretty sunny out here in the Northeast over the last week or so. So in the last, that's the week, and you can see you're right about 50%, 46% coming from solar, powering this entire house. How many square feet is this house approximately? Like $3,000?
30, 35.
3,500. Okay, so you're powering a big house, relatively large house. Roughly 50% of it's coming from the sun.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The batteries automatically get charged, whether it be from the grid or from the panels, but it will immediately charge the batteries to 100% just based on weather forecast, which is a great feature. You don't have to be home. You don't have to go charge anything. It's done automatically.
That's great. So it's intelligent. It's using external data sources, AI, if you will, to take the data, realize what is upcoming. And if, for example, let's just say a storm's coming and the batteries are only at 20%, right?
Yeah.
What it will do is it will charge those batteries up to 100%, knowing that a storm is coming ahead of time.
Correct.
Interesting. That is, so this is not just a physical, so someone has really thought this whole thing through.
Correct.
And that's amazing. Let's go outside. I want to see what these solar panels look like.
All right. So this is not the way it was originally laid out. Tesla does a great job with the initial design. But I wanted to optimize the number of panels that we have back here. So we managed to get all 30 panels. I think originally we started with 24. I wanted more to be able to generate as much as possible. So there are 30 back there. The original design had some panels in the front of the home. And although these are really nice looking panels, we would rather not have them visible. So the only reason we're seeing them is because we're actually on the corner of our property. But even in the backyard, we're not able to see them. So we're in a homeowners association here, so we're very careful. And so what we did was, rather than run the cabling up and around and down the home, the side of the house, we punched through the attic, went through an inside closet of one of the rooms upstairs, down through the garage, and if we get a look at the garage, you'll see the piping comes straight through there. So there's no evidence of any solar panels here, which I think is a really nice thing. Some of the panels aren't as aesthetically pleasing as these, but still, and it makes it worse. But either way, as far as we're concerned, it's just better to hide them. So I think we accomplished that.
So Robin, the original design, are you saying that Tesla, they actually wanted to run the wires like out on the side of the house, like over in here?
Correct.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that wouldn't look good.
Right.
And then with the original design, tell me a little bit about when you were working with Tesla. How was it to work with the designers? Like, what was the process? You want to have them come out to your house. They have to do a site survey. Do they use satellite imagery to figure out the let's just say the relevance, or maybe how effective the location of your house is? Because I mean, you've got a lot of trees here in your backyard, but you still have quite a lot of sun. So tell me about that process.
Yeah, so they were great. So the original design came back. You know, you have to be patient. There's a lag time. And if you're in the sweet spot where they come in with a design and you say, okay, it looks good, go ahead, I think it's an easy process. If you modify it like I did, you really have to be very patient. These people were all Tesla employees, and they were very competent. There was a master electrician. The workers that ended up coming were fantastic, but I modified it. So it was a restart on the engineering process. It was probably an 8 or 9 month process, probably because of the changes I made. And then in the end, I said, I don't want any piping along the outside of the house. So we did have somebody come out and take a look at some possibilities. There was a shaft that I thought was going from the basement up to the attic. It ended up not going straight through to the attic. It looked like it did. So then we had to find a different way, but we were determined to hide the cabling. So the process with Tesla is great if you're in their sweet spot, and is a bit painful if you're doing something custom. It's doable, but you have to be confident, know what you want, and help them along with a plan. And it is an extra cost, by the way, to run the cabling on the interior, but they did a fantastic job.
So when you say it took 8 or 9 months, was that because you were thinking and planning along the way, or were they just not responsive in terms of?
No, they were responsive. Where they weren't so responsive was when I tried to have the master electrician back here to look at other options after he was here already. Wasn't their fault. We should have kind of figured it out, and I should have had my ducks in order. They were responsive, but there was a wait. There was a lead time associated with when they're going to get to us, because they were busy, and but in general they were responsive. And like I said, if you can stay in the sweet spot, they're very good.
And to get to the point where you've got a design and the engineer comes out to your house, did you have to give them any kind of deposit, or was this all on good faith that they were giving you an estimate?
It was very minimal. It might have been $250.
So for them to come up with a plan and a design, which included then sending an engineer out to your house multiple times.
Well, once.
Once, okay.
Because I requested it. Really, he only came out because I made the request, which was
I see.
very nice.
I see. Okay. And so, but overall, when the time came for the installers to, you know, get the ladders up and first of all, were you here for it?
I was definitely here.
Okay.
You need to watch. One of the things they were doing is, and the guys were fantastic, but they had a ladder set up and they were pulling the panels up the ladder and sort of scratching the face of the panel.
No way.
And I was, guys, can we do this a different way? And they're like, well, it buffs out. Don't worry, when we get to the top,
It buffs out.
So I'm like, well, no, I'd rather we don't do it that way.
Right.
So they took the time. They used this little subroof here to go the first step, and then they hoisted it up, almost handing it off by hand. So they were very responsive. I would recommend you definitely here when they do the work. But these guys were pros.
Now, you remember we had watched that CNBC documentary, right, recently that came out about a year ago.
Yeah.
And in there, I saw that in some cases, the people that show up to actually on the day that they do the install, they were not necessarily Tesla employees, they were outsourced to third-party vendors. In your case, were these guys wearing Tesla, were they Tesla employees?
They were Tesla guys. I think most of them were originally Solar City guys.
Right, which makes sense, right?
Yeah. And they were just great. No issues.
How many guys came and how long did it take to do this?
Well, it was a 2-day process, and there were 3 different teams. There was a team to actually install the panels and run the cabling. A lot of young, agile guys. They used safety equipment. Then there was another group that ran the electricity, including the master electrician. He showed up a couple of times. And there were 1 or 2 guys doing the interface, the software connectivity side. And then they came back for some of the safety issues. You'll need a heat sensor and a smoke detector in the garage.
In the garage. Tell me about the permitting process and how helpful Tesla was. I would imagine that in order to put a system in like this, the town's going to have their say and their what. Tell me how that worked.
Yeah, it was all inspected. It was all, they took care of all the paperwork, laid it all out. It's kind of like buying a Model 3. You input all the information, you take some pictures of your equipment, the AC equipment, the boiler, whatever is going to be run, and whatever we choose to be the primary. Like do we want the bedrooms or the main floor of the house, AC if there's 2 or 3 zones, to be active in an emergency. So, well, they just need to know the equipment in order to size up.
I see. Okay, and then I was going to ask you also just about from once they came and installed it, the day that they were done installing it, did they flip the switch and it turned on and you saw the energy flowing on the app, or did that take a little bit of time for that to kick in?
Well, you could see it flowing, you could see it working, but it wasn't until after the inspections from the town that we were able to connect back to the grid. And there's more equipment on the side of the house that you should take a look at.
All right, well, let's go look at that.
Yeah.
Definitely. So as we walk around the side of Rob's house, I see he was pointing out that there's another device here. But when you think about it, think about this. You've got 2 days worth of install where you got guys going up on the roof with the solar panels themselves. I don't even know what the heck this thing is over here. And then they're running wires all the way from the roof down into the basement, which goes to the breaker panel, and then they're running other wires into the garage, and then installing 2 PowerWalls and having it all connected up. I mean, to me, it's mind-blowing. Rob, what is this unit here on the outside of the house?
So I believe this is like a shut-off, instant quick shut-off switch, and also this is a gateway. It's an electrical panel that connects and communicates between PowerWall and solar panels and the grid.
My buddy Rob is an excellent musician and a big fan of thinking positively, just like me. Rob, just tell everyone about your album, because isn't it available? I think I listened to it once going to an interview years ago on Spotify, which was amazing.
Yes, well, thanks, Dave. Thanks for pointing that out. So it's rock music, and it's all positive phrases. So the idea is, as you listen, if you get one of those earworms where a song gets stuck in your head, suddenly you're repeating positive phrases, and that's kind of my way of giving back. So I hope you guys.
Oh, that's great. You know, I'll put a link, if it's okay with you, Rob. I'll put a link in the description so people can get at your music.
There's a savings associated with it. There's a payback period. I calculated about 8-year payback, maybe 7-year for this system. But let's say, I know it's a little bit of a reach, but let's say if you own an internal combustion engine car, and you switch over to an electric car, and you have a setup like this, suddenly you're not buying gas anymore. And it's not only the savings on your electric bill, which could be a couple of $100s a month, but savings on gas for your car, which is another at least a couple of $100s a month or more these days. So just by luck, the payback period went from maybe 8 years to 4 years or less.
What was your total cash outlet?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's a
Outlay.
typical system. Let's say it was about, I think it was a little over 10 kilowatt, 10 kilowatts of solar panels. There's 30 panels up there. And with the PowerWalls, I did it about a year ago. Maybe it was around, would have been $40,000. There are rebates and deductions that you get. Maybe we ended up paying a little over $20,000. I don't think the prices have gone up a whole lot. Maybe that same system might be $45,000. Real cost after all the rebates, it might be around $25,000. A gas generator is maybe $10,000 to $15,000, and you never get payback on that. This one kind of pays for itself if you're going to stay in the house.
Right. And then one last question: Did you shop other solar solutions holistically like this, and how did they compare?
Yeah, they were all good. And I can't. There were a few different ones. They were all very good. This is around the time that Elon Musk decided to be the low-cost provider and undercut everyone's prices. So Tesla was the cheapest, but the other providers had support that was probably superior to Tesla's. They would come over, draw the whole thing out, sit down, speak with you. We've had presentations with one or two of the others. I just went on price and because I'm a fan of Tesla, and it worked out, but you do have to have patience if you're going to do something a little bit out of spec.
Right. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, listen, I am super excited about today. I learned a lot. I quite honestly, I don't think I understand as much as you do, for sure. And I would imagine that, when you were doing this, I know you probably were all over the stats and the specifics and exactly what we were doing and drawing it all out, because I know that's the way you are. But the good news about this is you don't have to do that, right? Today, it just works, right?
Right.
So that's the beauty of this system. And I think that's the message that, have faith in not just Tesla perhaps, but all these other solar companies that are out there. I get 3 or 4 calls a week from these solar. Do you have solar? Do you want solar? And so obviously there's a lot of supply and there should be demand for this. So, listen, thank you, Rob, very much for your time today. I appreciate it. And we appreciate everyone watching this kind of special episode of Out of Spec Dave.